Fill your heart, eyes, and mind with the beauty of the world. Without beauty and love, we are nothing. A quote from the Melodies of Inner Beauty. Shelyn, also known as the Eternal Rose, is the goddess of art, beauty, love, and music. Her alignment is neutral good. Domains include air, charm, good, luck, and protection. Her favorite weapon is the glaive. Centers of worship are Absalom, Galt, Sargava, and Taldor. Her nationality is considered Taldane. Shelyn has watched over the multiverse with a gentle heart and generous eye since the beginnings of sentience, encouraging mortals in peace and love and reveling in even their crudest artistic awakenings. A passionate and creative artist in both matters of the heart and works of beauty, she teaches that true beauty takes many forms, that kindness is its own form of strength, that no force is more powerful than love, and that every person is beautiful in some way. She has experienced enough pain herself to recognize the sting of sacrifice, and has soothed enough broken hearts to know that love and beauty are not easy things. Yet, despite the realities of pain and loss, she remains an eternal optimist, helping to mend the deepest pains and turn the coldest hearts toward love and light. No mortal, monster, or deity is immune to her power. Shelyn represents all aspects of love, whether a parent's devotion to his child, companionship with a beloved pet, the steady tenderness of an old couple, the chaste adoration of a paladin for a deity, or the passion of new lovers. She prefers relationships based on more than just carnal desire. While she does not oppose such relationships, she hopes that such relationships and physical trysts blossom into something deeper. Likewise, she does not consider greed or craving true love, whether directed toward riches or an uninterested person. Shelyn is always shown as a young woman with eyes of blue or silver, or sometimes one of each color, and ankle-length hair adorned with colorful strands. She is usually depicted as a human, though other races often illustrate her as one of their own, from elves to half-orcs. Shelyn always wears tasteful clothing and jewelry that accentuate her beauty without revealing too much of it. Her physical proportions vary depending on the artist and regional standards for beauty. She is strong and sturdy in some depictions, voluptuous in others, and slender in still others. When she chooses to appear to mortals, it's usually as a brown-haired Taldane woman of average proportions and exceptional beauty, dressed in attractive but comfortable clothing. Her avatar is the embodiment of passion, energy, and devotion, and nearby objects and even the air and light themselves bend toward her as if in ecstasy. Shelyn is the daughter of an unknown mother and the spirit wolf Thrawn, the prince that howls. In primordial times, Thrawn roamed the mountains, forests, and skies, singing his feral ode to life, song, and love. From his many unions came 2 children greater than he, his daughter Shelyn and his son Dou-Bral, who, as the only close relatives among the major deities of Golarion, shared the divine portfolio of love, beauty, art, and music. Ages ago, the siblings quarreled, and Dou-Bral departed to regions past the edge of the great beyond, abandoning his divine interests and responsibilities. When he returned, he was transformed into the dark god Zon-Kuthon, twisted by the things he'd experienced beyond the borders of existence into the dark mirror of his former self. His devotion to beauty had become mastery of mutilation, love had become misery, music had become screams, and the art of creation had become the craft of torture. He mutilated and reshaped his own father into his herald, a thing of pain and horror,
When Shelyn reached out to greet her lost brother, he pierced her hand with his black nails and responded to her tears and pleading with violence. The siblings battled again, and eventually the goddess wrestled his glaive from him, thinking it was the source of his corruption. The two declared a truce, a tenuous peace of silence and avoidance. Despite the hurts he has caused, Shelyn believes that her brother still exists within the twisted thing that he has become, and hopes to someday redeem him. Her story of love and devotion, despite sorrow, inspires mortal friends and lovers to persevere in adverse circumstances, bards to craft epic songs and tragedies, and artists to create works that touch the soul. Shelyn sometimes contacts her faithful directly, but she prefers to work through reassuring thoughts, reminders of loved ones, or memories of favored music. Songbirds are sacred to her church, their presence being considered good luck. Most of her temples include feeders on the roof or in nearby trees to encourage birds to visit and nest nearby. Especially blessed artists may receive visions of Shelyn's realm to inspire their works, and bereaved lovers may experience dreams of walks in the realm's rose gardens with their deceased loves. Shelyn's displeasure manifests in a number of ways, such as a brief glimpse of a repellent reflection in a mirror, a lover's quarrel, a bird singing off-key, or a wilted rose. She is greatly saddened by those who betray the ones they love, and haunts such folks within her church and congregation with guilt and the subtle sounds of those they betrayed, until they either genuinely ask for forgiveness or abandon her faith entirely. Shelyn's holy symbol is a songbird with rainbow feathers, and her weapon is the glaive, whisperer of souls, seized from her brother Zon-Kuthon and claimed as her own. She keeps the weapon as a reminder of her brother's transformation and to show her worshippers that it is necessary sometimes to fight for the things you love. People of all alignments and social statuses are moved by beauty and long for love. Good and neutral folk seek Shelyn's counsel in finding love or inspiration, or reuniting with a strayed love or lost muse. Evil folk turn to her when they realize their lives are empty without love and beauty. Many scoff at her faith as being full of weaklings, dandies, dreamers, and fools, but in her presence they cannot help but love her, for all are subject to her power. In truth, many who call on Shelyn in the moment are drunk on love or beauty. They believe these things are sword, shield, food, and drink. Most of her lifelong followers, however, know that love is intangible, a journey, a source of inspiration. It must be tempered with common sense. Her faithful strive to be open to love when it offers itself, honest in mourning a broken heart, and courageous enough to risk love again when they have healed. The intensity of the love struck is mirrored in the intensity of artists. The musician who forsakes all other pursuits to craft the perfect song, and the dancer who practices for hours on blistered feet, both honor Shelyn, obeying the obsessive urge to create something that will inspire others for generations. The goddess doesn't ask mortals to attempt this level of devotion, but she understands and respects the heartfelt desire to create, whether out of love, grief, the desire for fame, or the edge of madness. At the same time, however, she is aware of the dark side of obsession, and how easily the blessings of love and passion can be twisted to jealousy and unhealthy compulsion. Equally important to her followers is correcting those who should cite Shelyn's name to justify unworthy actions or covetousness. Among Shelyn's worshippers are artists, actors, musicians, young lovers, romantics of all stripes, and enchanters and illusionists who strive for beauty above all else. The broken-hearted weep her name, and those participating in arranged marriages petition her in hopes that love will blossom in their union. Marriage for love pleases her, as does finding love outside of marriage when doing so does not hurt the spouse. Shelyn does not require fidelity, but teaches that you should not be reckless with other people's hearts, nor should you tolerate those who are reckless with your heart, for an oft-broken heart is slow to heal. Parental love is powerful, and usually the first love any creature knows, and therefore she supports both reproduction and adoption, no matter the organization of the family unit, as long as loving parents raise the child. Though she considers divorce a sad thing, she understands that hearts may change, and it's sometimes better to end a marriage than to fight too hard to save something that is doomed to fail. Worship services for Shelyn may be quiet and slow-paced or loud and upbeat, but they are always heartfelt. Dance and music are central to any ritual. Food, particularly large groups meals, where every person or family contributes a different dish, is common at evening ceremonies, and is often used to welcome new members of the community to the faith.
Shelyn's roomy temples are surrounded by gardens, most with at least one rosebush, with romantic statues and gorgeous views that serve as havens for lovers, as well as popular wedding locations. Inside the temples are filled with music and adorned with paintings, sculpture, and framed calligraphy of poems from her holy book. Many of these works are available for purchase and are considered a prestigious gift when presented to loved ones. Often the temple art is donated, created, or sponsored by those who found love and approval from the church when all others opposed them. Priests of the temple usually create the rest. Individual Shelynite temples may focus on one type of art, such as painting or dancing or a type of musical instrument, particularly if the temple is small. Larger ones are often multidisciplinary, with an emphasis on orchestral performance or theater, particularly in Taldor. The Temple of Upheld and Golden Rose in Opara, Taldor's capital, is the oldest known temple of Shelyn. The Grand Cathedral is an intricate affair, fluted and open to the sky. Bright birds roost around its central courtyard, and talented musicians play exquisite tunes appropriate to the hour and the weather throughout the year. It is said that once a year the goddess herself walks hidden among the faithful here, personally blessing those who best embody their qualities. However, no one knows exactly which day it is that this occurs, and so the temple sees a constant flow of worshippers. Many temples are associated with one or more agathons, and these temples usually have iconography and art related to their agathons and the noble animals they resemble. For example, a temple associated with a noble leonel might be decorated with lion artwork, and might even be home to many friendly cats. Even temples that don't have a patron agathon still usually have an unusual number of songbirds living nearby. Shelyn motivates her followers to inspire creativity, teach others to see beauty,
and encourage love and devotion between deserving individuals. Natural peacemakers and mediators, Shelynnites recognize that the world contains ugliness and evil, and are not afraid to fight to change it so that everyone can appreciate the beauty and joy of existence. Her clergy treasure wisdom and talent, and prefer informal organization and decisions made as a community, but they also recognize that great art is rarely created by committee. If an individual disagrees with a decision, she is free to follow her own path. Most of Shelyn's clergy are clerics or bards, serving as artists and teachers as well as healers of both body and soul. Her clergy do not use their magic to seduce, but may use it to intervene in conflicts or prevent evil from being done, to ease the hurt of a broken heart. Those paladins who serve Shelyn often focus on courtly love and seek to shield beauty from forces that would consume or destroy it. The rare inquisitors of her church hunt cultists of Zon-Kuthon, redeeming them if possible, but preventing them from spreading their poison at all costs. Priests endeavor to create something of beauty each day, usually by composing music or painting, though some may choose less conventional means of artistic cultivation, such as gardening, mentoring others in dance or other arts, or aiding a local theater. Among more militant priests, beauty may come from the perfection of aerobatic and aesthetically appealing martial arts and weapon routines. Those less entranced by the creative process may instead care for artists, scout for upcoming talent, or arrange patronages between nobles and young geniuses. Wealthier priests often own theaters, concert halls, art galleries, or their own schools. Priests serve as matchmakers, counsel those with broken hearts or relationship problems, and preside over weddings. While devoted to beauty, Shelyn's followers recognize that mortals can be superficial about physical attractiveness, and that individuals' appearance can be a source of pain and despair. Her temples often counsel supplicants on how to recognize and enhance their own unique beauty, teaching them to move with grace that celebrates their bodies, aiding them in learning to speak with eloquence and confidence, helping them to select clothes and hairstyles that express the qualities in which they take pride, and highlighting positive aspects of their personalities. The most respected practitioners of these arts believe that they can see their goddess's qualities in each person they encounter, and that the delight with which they gaze upon each new face makes any who approach them feel beautiful in their presence.
Training for clergy involves instruction in the appreciation, history, and theory of the performing and visual arts to better understand and value them, as well as education in deportment, fashion, and rhetoric. As such, all priests have at least some training and understanding of a craft or performing skill. Before initiation into the priesthood can be considered complete, a new acolyte must perform 3 acts of beauty: uncovering beauty in something not generally seen as beautiful, restoring a piece of artwork that has been defaced or neglected, and creating a new and lasting work of beauty in their surroundings. They must also perform 3 acts of love: getting a family or community to recognize love that its members have rejected, undoing a misunderstanding that has gotten in the way of love, and introducing 2 people who fall in love. Most aspiring priests labor for years to complete these works to a standard they believe worthy of their goddess.
The Paladins of Shelyn are peaceable promoters of art and beauty. They see the ugliness in evil, even when cloaked in the form of beauty, and their mission is to defend those who devote their lives to the creation of beauty, bring it forth themselves, and prevent the weak and foolish from being seduced by false promises. Their tenets include the following adjuncts. I see beauty in others. As a rough stone hides a diamond, a drab face may hide the heart of a saint. I am peaceful. I come first with a rose rather than a weapon, and act to prevent conflict before it blossoms. I never strike first unless it is the only way to protect the innocent. I accept surrender if my opponent can be redeemed, and I never assume they cannot be. All things that live love beauty, and I will show beauty's answer to them. I live my life as art. I will choose an art and perfect it. When I have mastered it, I will choose another. The works I leave behind make my life richer, and the richer for those that follow. I will never destroy a work of art, nor allow one to come to harm, unless greater art arises from its loss. I will only sacrifice art if doing so allows it to save a life, for untold beauty can arise from an awakened soul. I lead by example, not with my blade. Where my blade passes, a life is cut short, and the world's potential is beauty lessened for it. Those adventurers who follow Shelyn are motivated by gentleness, peace, and beauty. They know the world contains ugliness and evil, and they want to change it so that everyone can appreciate the finer points of being. Her servants seek to inspire creativity, to teach people to see beauty, and to inspire love and devotion, not necessarily toward themselves, but between deserving others. They strive to promote the good in general, to help people trapped in ruts, and to free those under the thrall of evil. Adventuring Shelynnites are natural peacemakers and go-betweens, yet when push comes to shove, they're not afraid to shed blood on behalf of beauty and those they love. Adventurers devoted to Shelyn often carry gold-plated glaives in her honor. Formal garb within the church is designed to emphasize the wearer's beauty, although the level of modesty varies greatly depending on the individual's preferences. Makeup and jewelry are often used to highlight attractiveness and their features, and it is common for worshippers to wear brooches or pendants bearing Shelyn's long-tailed bird sigil. Bright green, red, and gold are popular colors, and white accents such as vests, belts, and scarves are common. Many ceremonial outfits include the image of a rose in one of its four corners, and rose-adorned regalia are part of many religious ceremonies. Shelyn's holy book is Melodies of Inner Beauty, and as its name suggests, it's more of a hymnal and collection of poetry than a prayer book. Stories about the goddess, her family, her history, and her doctrine are expressed through songs, epic verses, and dramas to be performed and enjoyed among the faithful. The book glosses over the ugly parts of the stories, particularly about Zon-Kuthon, though other divinely inspired documents of the church reveal more details of Shelyn's deeds and relationships. The Church of the Eternal Rose has no universal holidays except Crystal Hue. However, vow renewals between loving couples are often celebrated by an entire temple, as are any other anniversaries of loving relationships. For a temple associated with a specific patron
Agathon, that celestial's birthday, wedding anniversary, or confirmation in the church may be a local holiday. Crystal hue, winter solstice. This day of artistic creation is traditionally a time for courtship and romantic proposals. During the day, people hang crystal prisms and glass baubles in order to spread light and scatter rainbows in the streets. Celebrants exchange small gifts, typically handmade as tokens of appreciation or as peace offerings to those they feel they have wronged during the year. Worshippers often dye colored streaks in their hair or wear colorful patchwork coats called malaros, to which they add new patches every year. In the evenings, celebrants place lanterns on porches and in windows to line the streets with ceremonial and communal light. Town squares or other community gathering places host feasts around bonfires, and these gatherings are a popular time to perform marriage ceremonies, especially for worshippers without the means to throw such elaborate celebrations for themselves. The sole dark note of crystal hue is the Zon-Kuthon doll. In some Shelynite congregations, a child is chosen to be the sibling and passes this strange little doll. Made from scraps of leather and cloth, it is sewn with red thread. Among the neighbors she passes this doll, and the townsfolk give it symbolic gifts and tell the doll happy memories or whisper apologies for those they've wronged during the year. The sibling child then casts it into the wilderness or sets it afloat to drift down a river, in the hope that it will find its way to the Midnight Lord and relate his sister's kindness, mercy, and goodwill in the face of the dark place he now resides. There are innumerable poems and songs inspired by love, yet most followers hold three sayings as Shelyn's most important messages. The creation of beauty is the highest art. Anything done to make the world more beautiful is a blessing. Visual art, music, or even simple enhancements like clever makeup or a good haircut all create beauty, and even the smallest change can transform the mundane into the intriguing. Love is never born of evil. Love is a positive, fulfilling energy. It protects, trusts, hopes, and preserves. Possessiveness and jealousy stem from evil and are not love. An enemy's punishment may be deserved, but a loving heart does not rejoice in hatred or vengeance. Love is the greatest of all things. Knowledge, language, and ambitions all pass in time, but love and kindness toward the others around you persist, their repercussions felt down through the generations, in this world and the next. Even when love is barely more than a flickering candle, it can ignite the heart and soul into a raging flame that defies time, death, war, fate, and nature. Shelyn's nature is to be loved, and no deity is immune to her charm. However, the gods' responses vary in accord with their natures. Asmodeus would use her to seduce the incorruptible, while Rovagug would place her within his eye to watch as he gloriously destroys all creation. The eternal Rose has loved many minor and major deities, but refuses to bind herself to any of them, and has borne no children. Callistria and Shelyn amuse each other and understand the need for both lust and love in a passionate relationship. Caden Caelian, similarly, amuses her with his heartfelt and often inebriated attempts to woo her, but most believe her love for the god of freedom to be more of a parent older sister. Eomade, Sarenrae, and other deities who actively crusade against evil often see her as naive or a bit frivolous, but such objections tend to melt away in her presence as she reminds them that the eradication of evil is meaningless if crusaders forget what they are fighting to preserve. Shelyn has a close relationship with Bulka, the dwarven goddess of love and beauty, although both recognize that their worshippers have different views of these qualities. She counts many imperial lords as her friends and allies as well. She shares mutual admiration with Arshay, whose message of freedom as beauty she finds a refreshing contrast to many mortals' rigid views of physical aesthetics, and she occasionally shares a moonlit dance with Arshiva, or an intense discussion of musical composition with Saramadiel. Shelyn is the only deity who has a regular contact with her brother Zon-Kuthon, and it has been many years since he has attacked her, though she remains wary that whatever evil force controls him might one day change its mind. She also recognizes the longing in his eyes when she sees her glaive, and suspects that somehow the alien thoughts that emanate from the weapon are the key to freeing her brother from the shadow that consumes him. The goddess's broken relationship with Nidari, her former divine servant, remains her second great sorrow. Nidari became a goddess after a pair of her mortal wards chose to kill themselves rather than live apart. In fear and confusion, the neophyte goddess fled from Shelyn and has since adopted a darker worldview. She also has a strained relationship with Urgathoa, not just because Urgathoa's spiritual ugliness, but also because of some offense she committed against the goddess of undeath in centuries past. Neither goddess is willing to speak of the friction between them. In general, the faithful of Shelyn have excellent relations with all the other good and neutral religions, and even the servants of evil gods find much to love about the goddess and her followers. Like their deities, followers of crusading gods may sometimes dismiss Shelynites as out of touch with reality or hampered by artistic temperamentation, until they stumble into a Shelynite temple, battle-weary and heartsore, and find peace, healing, and renewed faith among its comforts. On rare occasions, Shelynite suggestions that this faith's temple would be much improved by a bit of redecorating, or that a faith's ceremonial robes could be adjusted to be more flattering, irritate their neighbors. But most recognize this impulse as genuine desire to share beauty, and a minor flaw compared with the Shelynite's bounty of attractive qualities. Shelyn makes her deific realm within the vast and remote valley high in the Dragon Mane Mountains of Nirvana, so named for its jagged peaks' resemblance to the spines along the ridge of a great dragon's back and tail. Within the amphitheaters and green glens of the pastoral valley, Shelyn's petitioners celebrate her dogma of selfless love and her appreciation for acts and creations of beauty, and in this respect she and her faithful find ready collaboration with the native Agathions. Crowning the mountains that overlook her realm stand dozens of avoral keeps and monasteries. Their sweeping walls and gravity-defying buttresses pushing past the edges of architectural imagination into pure artistic expression. Concealed from most, a second, equally idyllic valley exists adjacent to Shelyn's domain, standing in wait for Shelyn's half-brother, the mad god Zon-Kuthon, in hopes of his eventual redemption. Shelyn's divine servants are mostly transformed petitioners or supernatural beings she has created. In addition to her servitor race, the beautiful Dapsaras, the following race are 3 of her most blessed minions, who answer planar ally and similar calling spells from the faithful. Dancing Petal, unique air elemental. This giddy creature is alight with affection for every living thing and excitement about every experience. It wraps itself around interesting people, plays music on available instruments, makes leaves and debris dance elaborate tutelinas, and helps children pretend to fly. It loves to juggle fruits, candies, and small pieces of jewelry in elaborate patterns, and carves clouds into laughing faces on joyous occasions. It likes to be paid in small items it can juggle or offer to others. Phoenix Tail. This brilliantly plumed avoral bard is a master calligrapher and painter whose periods of mania and romantic despair both fuel his art and devotion to the goddess. He uses his own feathers as quills for writing and crafts magic items out of his plumes, particularly bird and swan boat feather tokens, to gift to mortals pursuing art, music, or love. He prefers payment in the form of original paintings and fine inks and paints. Spirit of Adoration. This armored woman looks like a living statue and serves as Shelyn's herald. She is generous, compassionate, and tolerant, and those who meet her under pleasant circumstances can't help but agree that she is one of the nicest creatures they've ever met. When some great love or beautiful work of art is in danger, her eyes burn with the fire of true love threatened, and her face becomes the stern mask of an artist lost in the moment of finishing his masterpiece. Her hands wield a glaive, spell, and ray in a beautiful and enthralling dance, as though they move to the very music of creation. Though she is not a gossip, she listens to her fellow Celestials and is aware of whom they've helped in the mortal world, and keeps tabs on those who have benefited from the goddess's favor in the past and, if necessary, might be willing to repay a past favor.
Hi everyone. Well, that is Shelyn. I hope that you guys have enjoyed her. It also finishes out all of the deities that have set paladin codes, which means we'll be starting with Callistria and her anti-paladin code. Stay tuned, and as always, have a great day, God bless, and enjoy.
This content was made possible by travelers and viewers like you. Thank you.